I'd like to call this village board meeting to order. This is number 3096. It is May 11th, 2015. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Abernathy.
Present.
Kim.
Here.
Meyer. Semple.
Here.
Sullivan. Voss.
Okay. Would everyone, if you can, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. It's quite an evening tonight with the swearing in of 3 new trustees. Also on the agenda, we have a few business-related items related to the expansion of Tighthead Brewery and also an incentive plan for Holly Lakes Plaza where the old Walgreens is. So it's a big evening for us. Glad everyone could make it. Let's go right to the approval of minutes. First, I need a motion to approve the Board of Trustees' regular meeting minutes from April 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Voss. Meyer. Sullivan.
And the mayor votes yes. Motion carries. Next, a motion to approve the Board of Trustees' special meeting minutes for May 4th, 2015.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Kim, second by Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Voss. Sullivan. Meyer. Semple.
Yes.
And the mayor votes yes. Motion carries. Finally, a motion to accept the canvass of elections and declare the following persons elected. William Bill Rikas, Kirsten Russell, and Dakota Norton.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Kim, second by Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Sullivan. Voss. Meyer.
The mayor votes yes. Motion carries. Okay, that takes us to the part of the evening where we have the swearing in by Judge Tom Shippers. Welcome. And what we'll do is go in alphabetical order. We'll have the swearing in first, and then you would just take your seats, and then at the end, all three of you will take your seats at the end. So we're going to take our time so you can get the photo ops and all that stuff, all right? So let's have Dakota Norton step forward, please. And take it from here, Judge.
Okay, thanks, sir. Well, sir, congratulations. All right. Raise your right hand, sir. Repeat after me. I, Dakota Norton,
I, Dakota Norton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the village trustee
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
At the end? Okay. We'll do it at the end.
Okay, Mr. Rikas. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, please raise your right hand. I, William Rikas,
I, William Rikas,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the village trustee
of the village trustee
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities.
All right,
Thank you.
congratulations. Kirsten Russell.
Sure, guys.
Yeah. Congratulations, sir. Raise your right hand. I, Kirsten Russell,
I, Kirsten Russell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
All right, congratulations.
All right, so we have a little paperwork for you to do before you take your seats. So one at a time, just come up in order and go ahead and sign here and
Come on, Joe.
Okay. All right, paperwork done. Swearing in has taken place. Gentlemen, why don't you stand up, take your seats. We'll get busy. Folks, give them a hand. Congratulations. Yep. Check your nameplate. Got it right? You got the order right? Okay. There we go. Welcome. I just express my congratulations to all three of you. Look very much forward to working with all of this new board and all three of you especially to help make Mundelein an even better place to live. So welcome, and let's have a great evening here. Next up in the evening is the time where we have public commentary. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the village board at this time? We have one hand here, another hand. Anyone else? 3 hands, 4 hands. Okay, let's start. We'll go left to right here, sir. Come on up. And if we can make sure that the microphone is on, we'll just state your name and your address if you so wish.
My name is Sean Kalaki, and I live on Chevy Chase Road in Mundelein. I was on the Old Village Hall Study Committee, and I just wanted to express my disappointment of the Mundelein Board of Trustees in regard to their vote for the fate of the Old Village Hall. I know this is now a new board, and with 3 new members who did not vote on this, but I did want to let my feelings shown for the past board. 2 weeks ago, on April 27th, the board decided against the committee's recommendation for making the Old Village Hall a restaurant or arts center. Instead, they decided just to put the building on for sale to whoever comes along, which means the new owner, whoever it may be, could decide to tear down the 87-year-old historic building. What I'm wondering is if the board just decided to put a for sale sign in front of the building, why was the committee formed? This decision could have been made without a committee doing months of research and study on different possibilities for the building. I walked away that night feeling at least that one board member didn't even believe the facts and figures that the committee came up with, saying that the cost to tear it down was either too high or to refurbish it was too low. Even in a previous meeting, this board member said and was quoted by the Daily Herald as saying that it just seems impossible to do anything with this building. Again, putting to the question of why the committee was formed at all. Mundelein is losing its character by losing historical buildings such as the Old Village Hall and losing business. That is why the committee also recommended starting a restaurant row, an idea created by our committee chairperson and former trustee Robin Meyer, which would include the Old Village Hall and bringing people to our village for eating and shopping. This also was rejected by the board. On either side of us are 2 villages, Libertyville and Wakanda, that have brought in businesses and restaurants and keeping the historical character. They're growing and thriving. Because of decisions made like the ones on April 27th, we are not. I hope this board will take in all, this new board will take in all considerations and help Mundelein grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Boy, you know, I feel almost obligated to comment. I really appreciate your volunteer efforts in that. And I know that report, I think it's a fantastic report. And one of the reasons I asked Trustee Meyer to do that was to make sure that the public had a voice and a way of expressing their opinion as to what would happen with the building. And I think that's definitely something that happened there. I'm sorry you didn't agree with the board's votes there, but as in terms of this new board, it's a fantastic report that gives us a lot of information moving forward. So again, my thanks to you and any other committee members that are here and listening to this. It was, I think, a very good effort and lots of great information for us. Next, coming this way, who else was on, who raised their hand? That's, sir, go ahead.
Thank you for your time. My name is Neil Hall. My wife and I have lived in our beautiful old Foursquare, which is now blue, 241 East Maple, for 29 years. We've been in the house. I've got a good view of what happens downtown, and I'm very interested in all new developments. I appreciate your time tonight. I got to go backwards a little bit. A year ago or so in June, my former neighbor, Laura Lafredo, came across the grass and announced the fact that she was leaving her home and, in fact, walking away from the mortgage, which was the former Round Robin Bed and Breakfast. I knew I was in trouble at that point in terms of what might happen next. For instance, the first example was last November, Mike, the Time Art guy, who's a fabulous neighbor, got a hold of somebody, and this big old dead elm tree was cut down in the backyard. According to our village ordinance, the debris from the tree has to be removed as well, but the fellows that cut it down had no interest in cleaning up the mess. This past April, I paid $200 of my own money to some of my guys that work with me, and we cleaned up the rest of the debris so I could cut the grass that abuts my backyard, the part that I can see beyond my fence. The grass itself now and the rest of the property is almost 12 or 15 inches high right now. Most of that is weeds. And again, we have an ordinance for that, albeit, we got to look at something that says maybe an ordinance should be put in place where you can't grow your grass 8 inches high before you have to cut it. What I think I see over there too is there's a little bit of hand wringing about who's calling the shots on the property. All winter long, I was in email contact with the building department about getting rid of the elm tree, this, that, and the other thing. And at the end of that, I went and I cleaned up the back of the property by myself with my guys. I think I see some hand-wringing because there might be a bank in charge of this thing. I don't fully understand the real estate portions of a foreclosure, but I understand that it's complicated on a lot of layers. It's probably none of my business what the real estate thing is there, except I shake in terror when I think about that old house, that beautiful old home being torn down. Again, I'm not accusing, but if somebody's in charge of that property, there's a real estate sign up. That real estate agent is useless in terms of answering questions. We seem to have some type of intimidation. If there's a bank in charge, who the heck is in charge? And it's not like we're asking for pie in the sky. There's rules and regulations in our village ordinances to keep the grass cut, to get rid of the debris from the tree, and the neighbors are doing it. I'm really confused. As somebody, we have to get after, no pun intended, we have to get after somebody and chase that bank. And I don't know if it's Chase or not, but it could be the Bank of the Holy Frisbee. I don't know who it is. But whoever's calling the shots there, we have to get after them and tell them that's not it's our laws that need to be upheld. And if they didn't want to send anybody out, I was told they just didn't want to do any more cleanup on the tree. Well, that was a minor detail. The other thing that is going on now with the grass and everything else, everything's a mess. My siding job just cost me dearly on my beautiful old home, and it was not only a big investment for my wife and our home, but I like to think it was an investment in the town. That building's been there since 1910, the home I live in, and nobody seems to give a hoot about that. All of this, and I'm finishing now, thank you. The other thing that I think I see is a bigger problem on a larger scale around town, especially in the old downtown, is there's like a problem with absentee landlords who the heck owns these places? The old Hillby and Lumber Company, the former Bradco Roofing and all that, that property is literally falling apart. And I know when Bradco pulled out, they were based in New Jersey someplace. We still have things on our books that we can get these people to fix these properties up. Who the heck is in charge of these things? All these corporate moguls that are in New Jersey or wherever they are, sitting in a bank going, no, we're not going to fix that anymore. Let's get after them, okay? You folks that are new and everybody else, somebody's got to get something done for us, do our jobs. I'm not going to live next to that dump site. The next time we can all get together is not until June 8th. That's what brought me out tonight, and I'm pretty tired. So I wanted to get some folks' attention. I really think we need to act on this thing and chase the bank. Say, hey, no, you're not going to let this go. Drive by that property this week and take a look at that mess. Mm-hmm. On the east elevation of the property, there's a hole in the fascia that's this big, and the squirrels are going out of there like there's no tomorrow, in and out of the house. You know, that's not all of our problems and stuff, but the building is going to fall down. It's going to be, but let's at least get the grass cut, and I'd appreciate some help in that matter, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you. We'll have to look for her. I know she wrote me a letter, but I don't think it was emailed. I think it was just a letter when she left, the owner. So we'll have to go after her.
Certainly.
You know, we'll chase that down. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And I've driven by it and have noticed the grass. We do have some things we can do, and we'll talk about that and see what the resources are we can apply to that. We do have limited ability, given that it's private property. We understand that, okay? But there's other things we can do with regards to the grass, at least, certainly.
That'd help. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Next, we had two more. Yes, sir.
Is it on?
Yes.
Randy Paddock, 1075 Killarney Pass. I had planned on delaying this until you all had an opportunity to get comfortable and familiar with your positions. However, the events of Friday afternoon, May 8th, precluded any delay. The new board hopefully will look on this situation different, because the old board ignored our pleas. On Friday, the first major rainstorm fell on the village. This wasn't a monsoon, it wasn't a tornado, it wasn't a microburst. It was a heavy rain. It was an inch of rain that came in an hour. We all understand that. But this was a typical heavy rain in a short period of time that as the years passed, this has increased from an anomaly to a regular occurrence in our area. And I know everyone, I had talked to people before the meeting, people are giving me examples of standing water in town on Friday. I'm well aware, more than most of you probably, where the water stood in Mundelein, because we drove the whole town looking. And I only saw one house that was surrounded by water. That one house is 101 Wellington. 101 Wellington was virtually inundated with floodwater. The avenue was completely blocked with water. The house itself was underwater on 3 sides. Stormwater was flowing into the foundation vents. Inside water level was at the top of the floor joist. The dual sump pumps were pumping the water out of the crawl space into the lake that was in the front yard, back into the crawl space. During the disaster, none of the 4 occupants could use the bathrooms because the toilets don't flush. At the height of the storm, the only exit that was accessible to get out of the house was the rear sliding door. The driveway was completely underwater, and the family vehicles had to be moved to higher ground. This water that's filling this house is contaminated with everything in the surrounding area, from road oil, dog feces, street debris, chemicals, and obviously due to the conflict we know of that it has with the sanitary line, sewage, human feces, and possibly E. coli. For decades, this house and the occupants have endured this attack from Mother Nature with no relief. Our son has endured this for 14 years. All complaints and pleas for help falling on deaf ears. Any fault in an electrical wire in that crawl space can cause an electrical shock. The floor joists have been subjected to water numerous times. The drywall in the front half of the house contains moisture. The plumbing does not function during any of these conditions. The newer asphalt driveway with concrete ribbons is deteriorated. In our last attempt for relief before the board, I passed out a file of photos so all of the trustees could see what was what. I believe it's possible some may have not put much effort in examining them or taking them very serious. This time, my wife, who's in the audience, emailed all of the trustees, old and new, photos of Friday's occurrence on Friday to allow you time to study them more thoroughly. I only pray that this time that you did. Also, this time I was fortunate enough to have Mr. Flynn accept my invitation to please come in person and assess the situation. I apologize again for the state I was in when I came up to the Village Hall in person to retrieve you, and I thank you for coming. Mr. Flynn, at 4:45 Friday afternoon, was on site, boots on the ground, to see this situation. Mr. Flynn was also advised that this is not a major situation, what he saw. This is a common situation. It is not the worst that has ever come. My wife, my son, Matt, and I attended a 2-hour meeting with the lead engineer and another member of the Lake County Stormwater Management. They have a software program, and it allows us to follow the history of all of Mundelein, but specifically Wellington Avenue, from the 1930s to the present. We sat for 2.5 hours while these two gentlemen, one being the lead engineer, walked us through the deterioration of Wellington Avenue and that area. After examining all of the contour lines, all of the changes in that whole area, it is obvious that there is no creative drainage procedure that will eliminate the problem. In conclusion, we have all reviewed the engineering studies from the 80s, the engineering studies from the 90s, the extensive 2010 Ken Miller report, and the excellent and highly detailed PowerPoint presentation by Mr. Boucher. Although the reports may differ slightly in language, they all say the same thing. The conclusion is the same. The pipes are too small in the system, and there will never be enough money in the budget in any of our lifetimes to fix it. This is not a small amount of standing water in a street, a lawn with a few inches of water, a slow-moving drain, or a parking lot with puddles in it, as we saw across the village on Friday. This is a natural disaster that occurs at a ridiculous frequency. We are hoping this can be solved in an amicable and expedited manner this time around. This is a different problem that when it was an occurrence of once every 3 years to now 7, 6, 7, 8 times per year. The seriousness is elevated drastically. I thank you for your time. We ask that the village maintain open communication with our family. We'd like to be included in any and all informational meetings on the Wellington situation. We ask that this be a transparent process. We believe this time around, the seriousness of this situation deserves more consideration than it got with the previous board. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, over here, ma'am? Yes.
Hi, I'm Ann Walker. I've lived here in Mundelein for over 40 years. I have two issues, but before I go into the first issue, which is about the pole signs, I want to confirm something. I was under the impression that, I'll use Bill's for an example, that they could come in and get a variance, that they could keep their pole sign for 5 years, but then it would have to go. But I've been told now that if they get the variance, that variance is with them as long as they own the business. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, if they were to get a variance, it would depend how the variance is written, if there is a time frame, but conceivably, it could be grandfathered in that
They wouldn't have to
form.
come in every 5 years and redo it?
No. No. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. Mr. Barrera.
That is correct. Once the variance, if approved, the business owner would not have to come in every 5 years, and the variance would go with the property.
Oh, cool. Then I don't have to talk about the pole signs. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. But I do want to talk about the old Village Hall. I was on the committee with Sean as well, and we did spend a lot of time researching and studying and talking and discussing whatever. At the last board meeting, I got the impression that the board wasn't much interested in saving the old Village Hall. And it saddens, I'm going to have to read this. It saddens me to think that Mundelein does not seem interested in its past. However, the village board has changed since the last time. We have 3 new members. And I'm hopeful that these new voices can see the importance of preserving the village hall. Back in 1928 or 1929, a village of only 500 residents raised $36,000 to build the village hall. That equates to almost $500,000 in today's dollars. How proud they must have been. Sometime in the 70s or the 80s, all the village residents were invited to come on down to the village hall, and an aerial photograph was taken. We were still proud of our village hall, and still proud of Mundelein. This building is part of our history. This building was the first firehouse. It held Old Engine Number 1. And it has a very unique architectural structure. And other towns in Lake County have preserved some of their historical buildings. Adler House in Libertyville is an old house. It's been rehabbed. It's now a very successful cultural and arts center. The Genesee Theater in Waukegan has been restored, and it's a very important part of Waukegan's community. In Zion, we've got the Shiloh House. That's now being used by the Historical Society. It's been brought back to its historical significance. And Davis Junction Town Hall in Davis Junction is a building that's more than 100 years old, and it is now being used. It's in good shape. It's being used by the Historical Society in Zion. And I'm going to skip this part. And I'm going to quote the Zion Historical Society. "We as a people preserve our history in order to communicate its lessons for the benefit of both present and future generations." Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll close the floor. We'll move on to the, well, let's see what we have here. There's no presentations, awards, or public hearings. That takes us to my report. First, we have the mayoral committee assignments. It's in the packet there, and I'll just reiterate it here for everyone to, just so on the camera and for the recording that you can kind of get a feel for what we're doing here. So here's how the chairs work. For the Community and Economic Development Committee, Trustee Dawn Abernathy is the chair, and Kirsten Russell is the vice chair, and Dakota Norton is the member at large. The Communications and Marketing, Holly Kim remains as the chair, Dakota Norton is the vice chair, Kirsten Russell is the member. On Finance, Trustee Semple is the chair, Dawn Abernathy is the vice chair, and Bill Rikas is the member. Public Safety, Bill Rikas is the chair, Ray Semple is the vice chair, Dawn Abernathy is the member. And Public Works, Trustee Kirsten Russell is the chair, Holly Kim is the vice chair, and Ray Semple is the member. And finally, Transportation and Infrastructure, Dakota Norton is the chair, Bill Rikas is the vice chair, and Holly Kim is the member. So when we hear our reports, the chairs will give the report, and then in their absence, the vice chair would give the report in that situation. Okay? Next up, we have this is for the Human Relations Commission. This is an appointment of Elizabeth Bernardi. She could not be present here tonight, but I elected to go ahead with this anyway because the Human Relations Commission is busy making plans for the One World Festival, and business continues, and we do not have a meeting later this month. So if we could, I'll ask for a motion to approve the Mayor's Commission appointment of Ms. Elizabeth Bernardi to the Human Relations Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Semple. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Rikus,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Norton.
Yes.
Very good, motion carries. And then what we'll do is have Ms. Bernardi come into the Village Hall here, and with you, we'll get a time when she could be sworn in at that time, and then she starts on the commission. Next up, we have the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency. This is simply making the appointments of myself, and Don Abernathy will be the alternate in my absence when I can't go to one of those meetings. So I need a motion to pass an ordinance amending Ordinance 050534, an ordinance appointing a director and an alternate director to represent the Village of Mundelein on the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kim, second by Rikus. Discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Kim,
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Motion carries. And next up, this is regarding SWALCO, the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. This is a motion appointing Holly Kim to be the alternate director for the Village of Mundelein. So I need a motion to adopt an alternate director for the Village of Mundelein to the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Rikus, second by Abernathy. Discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
just a point of, just to make a point, Holly is appointed as the director to SWALCO, and I'm the alternate director.
Very
That's
good. She's the director, you're the alternate.
Yes,
Very
that's the
good, okay.
resolution.
All right, now that's in the body of
The
the
body of the resolution.
resolution. Okay.
Do I abstain from the vote, or?
She doesn't need to abstain, does she? You can vote.
All right.
All right, we had a first and a second, right? All right, anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Rikus.
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Okay, and then there are two proclamations, and this is for two sets of employees that are extremely important, especially during, well, you'll hear about this. So let's go to, this is the Public Works Week. It's a mayoral proclamation for May 17th to the 23rd. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this. Wait a minute here. There we go. You know what? Why don't I take the paper? There we go. All right. So, Public Works Week proclamation. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of understanding and informed citizens is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of a community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, and whereas the year 2015 marks the 55th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Therefore, the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Mundelein do hereby proclaim May 17th to 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week in the Village of Mundelein. Proclaimed and signed and sealed this 11th day. And I think, is it still out there, the vacuum truck? Is it? Okay, they took it away. I guess maybe if you walked in, you may have seen the big brand new, that's what it's called, right? For lack of a better, the huge vacuum truck that they vacuum and just do a lot of work, public works, and it's a fantastic piece of equipment. But what gets me is these guys can run that, they can do snow plows, they're very multifaceted, and they just give such great effort everywhere they go. We greatly appreciate them, and very deserving of a week dedicated to them. Now, next up, this is a proclamation proclaiming May 17th to 23rd the same as Emergency Medical Services Week. So I'm going to read this. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, and others. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week, now therefore be proclaimed by the mayor and board that the week of May 17th to 23rd is recognized as Emergency Medical Services Week, and all the village residents are encouraged to join in this observance. You know, if ever you've had a need to call those folks, it's just sobering, as well as you come away with a huge appreciation for the training that they have. And so we will recognize that week as well as Emergency Medical Services Week. That does it for me. Let me make sure. Great. There's no liquor commission, so we can move on to trustee reports. Very good. Let's go to trustee reports. Public Works Committee, Trustee Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is the GIS Consortium membership. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the village administrator to execute a purchase order and enter into a one-year contract with the GIS Consortium service provider, Municipal GIS Partners Incorporated, in the not-to-exceed amount of $116,549.
Second?
Motion by Russell, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Russell,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next two items are actually relating to a new piece of equipment, and at this point, I feel like I kind of need to channel Mr. Sullivan here just a little bit. I looked over these numbers. I wish I could buy trucks this inexpensively. So just as a way of comment, I think it's a great deal. First motion is to adopt a resolution waiving bids and authorizing purchase orders for the purchase of a 3-ton dump truck from Rush Truck Centers of Springfield, Illinois, in the amount of $78,008, waiving bids, accepting proposals, and installation of additional equipment from Lindco Equipment Sales Incorporated of Maryville, Indiana, in the amount of $93,317, and purchasing mobile radios from Radicom Business Communication Systems, McHenry, Illinois, in the amount of $219.42.
Second?
Motion by Russell, second by Kim. Discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Russell,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Rikus,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next motion is a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing purchase orders for the purchase of a 1-ton dump truck from Curry Motors in Frankfort, Illinois, through the Northwest Municipal Conference Joint Purchasing Program in the amount of $41,400. Waiving bids, accepting proposals, and authorizing purchase orders for the purchase and installation of additional equipment from Lindco Equipment Sales Incorporated of Maryville, Indiana, in the amount of $53,205, and purchasing a mobile radio from Radicom Business Communication Systems, McHenry, Illinois, in the amount of $219.42.
Motion by Russell,
Second?
second by Kim. Discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Russell,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Rikus,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Norton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Last and final motion is to approve a purchase order for an amount not to exceed $48,000 and authorize the execution of the street sweeping contract between the Village of Mundelein and TKG Sweeping Services, LLC.
Motion by Russell,
Second.
Second by Kim. Discussion?
Yes, please.
Yes, trustee Kim.
I just had a quick question to ask to Director Boucher. Somebody had contacted me today asking when public commentary was because they wanted to talk about the street sweeping. Now, I didn't see them come up. I don't know if they're here, but did you receive any email? I didn't either, so that's that then. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Russell,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Norton,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, very good. Next up, Finance Committee, trustee Semple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the Finance Committee, as we move forward, I've requested that we put the monthly bill payment up in the Finance Committee, so if there's any questions on any of the particular line items, that it could be discussed there rather than being part of the omnibus. And as part of the $1.3 million bill payment this month, there's actually 5 line items that account for just about half of that amount. We're paying about $222,000 for a Route 60 water main project, $175,000 for our Lake Michigan water, Delco construction, about $140,000 for the build-out of the Anatol building. We're also paying $85,600 to Weston for the Village Hall construction payment, and Northeastern Illinois Regional Crime Lab is getting about $42,000 for the annual fee there. So with that, if there's any other questions anybody has on the bill payment, typically in this Finance Committee section will be the time to bring them forth. And if anybody has questions during the week in advance of the bill payment, please email Doug. I think he could use talking to a few people once in a while in his office over there. That's all I had for finance, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Public Safety Committee, trustee Rikus.
I have no motions at this time, but I'd like to check with Acting Chief Leidig and see if he has anything. But before he does, I would just like to commend him and the staff of the Mundelein Police Department for the walkout. Is that the proper term? That we had for Chief Sashko last week. I never attended one before, and it was very emotional and moving. So I don't know if you have anything, Acting Chief?
No, not at this time. The only thing to bring to the board's attention is the new ambulance we purchased. We're going to go into service, ironically, on EMS Provider Week. So you'll see it around town. It's going to run out of Station 2. Again, you're more than welcome. Stop by and see it up close and personal. Thank you.
And I think if anyone ever needs a master of ceremonies, you can contact Acting Chief Leidig. And then also just to see if Chief Gunther has anything.
Yes, a couple of upcoming programs. So this weekend, the 16th, is our 20th year that we've been doing Amazing Mundelein. That'll be at 8 a.m. starting at the police department. And on May 27th will be the Special Olympics golf outing held at Steeplechase. There's still some foursomes available. If anybody's interested, you can call the general number of the police department and we'll get you set up. And finally, on the 29th, we'll be doing Cop on a Roof for also benefit Special Olympics fundraising. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Community and Economic Development Committee, trustee Abernathy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a few things this evening. First, I'd like to talk and have a motion for the Economic Incentive Agreement for Holly Lake Plaza. And for those of you that don't know what Holly Lake Plaza is, we will just say the old Walgreens. So I think many people will be happy to know that they're going to be putting money into the old Walgreens property. They've committed to filling the old Walgreens property, so we no longer will hear that empty eyesore on the corner of Hawley and 45. So I have a motion to adopt a resolution approving the term sheet for an economic incentive agreement between the Village of Mundelein and TH Commercial Services, LLC.
Motion by Abernathy.
Second.
Second by Semple. Discussion.
Yes, please.
Trustee Kim.
Usually these incentives with businesses are negotiated with a negotiating team, but this time it wasn't. And I was just wondering who negotiated it to the point that it's at right now.
Well, it was negotiated, Mr. Grogan negotiated with Mr. Lebedo, Mr. Barrera, and I sat in on a couple of meetings, but the negotiating teams are, usually those are for much larger projects and
Right.
whole developments.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this
You know,
usually
this
doesn't
is-
take that type of
Yeah.
negotiating team when you
But-
do a term sheet. It's for Orchard Meadows, for, other things that we have coming in, like the Orchard Meadows subdivision was trustee Voss and myself. And I had already talked to Mayor about getting a new person for that to fill trustee Voss's. No one is more than I am on making sure we still have 2 trustees to negotiating teams. I actually gotten a little bit of a,
What?
well, I am.
We've had
Yes, we've had a good
constructive
dialogue.
We're
That
good.
we have to keep 2 trustees on those negotiating teams. Absolutely. I am in full agreement with you, trustee Kim. That's not gonna go away.
Okay, well, I guess it was just because the price was so high that I was surprised that it wasn't in a negotiation team format. So negotiating teams are only for when there's development, not for when it's just an incentive program between a business and the village.
Usually, yeah.
Okay,
But this is going, from what I see, this is going as what we normally do and what our incentive plan is for businesses now, 50%. And that's what we're doing, is giving them 50% of the projected cost. And they're only getting it back for X amount of years. And the first year is only 75% of what they're currently collecting now in sales tax, correct? Sales and property tax, and then it goes for a few more years up to, I believe, 47,000 in sales tax?
Total on an annual basis combined would be 40,000.
40,000,
Max.
so, yes.
we have an introduction of.
Yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tim Brogan. I am with TH Commercial, and I want to thank everyone for allowing me to be here tonight. This has been a very long process. We have been trying to figure out what to do with that property for a long time. We know it's been kind of an eyesore. We have done market studies to talk about tearing it down, redeveloping, and we've been working with the staff for quite a while. And it really got to the point, we think the best thing we can do is to completely renovate the center. And when I say renovate, that means new landscaping, new parking, new lighting, new facade, new rooftop units.
And you're gonna put some architectural design into this building?
Yes, the new
Okay.
facade. So it's gonna look like a brand new center. And we're doing that in the hopes of trying to attract viable businesses for that center. We've been struggling, obviously, because of the condition. It's hard to get tenants that would be acceptable for the community and for ourselves. So we're making this investment. So we're shelling out about $1.5 million over the next 6 months. Our goal is to have that thing renovated by the end of the year, at least substantially complete. And we're doing that on the hopes that we can start to attract some tenants for the property. It's still a challenge economically. Retail, we can all drive through communities all over and see a lot of vacancies. So we're doing this on the hopes of attracting some new tenants to the property, and we're excited about the opportunity to do that. And we're in conjunction with the new downtown that's happening, the widening of Halling Street, repaving of 45. We just think this is a great time to try and attempt to revitalize that corner, and hopefully it'll be the beginning of something great, and we can expand further as the blocks go.
Yeah, I have a question in terms of the design of the center. Will we be receiving any drawings or anything showing the design of the center? And I'm specifically referring to the fact that I would like to see it complement the facade look that we have, let's say with this new building here, making sure that we do use lighting that is identical to the lighting that is being used on 45. We have that new bank building now that has that same architectural feel, so that we have some continuity in the village. So the design element of this, is that going to be something that we will be able to look at before the final decision?
I think under the way the term sheet is established now, we would simply provide our building plans to the building department for review, and that would go through Public Works and Fire, all the departments as part of that review but I don't think we're intending to come back to this board for architectural review or approval. But I respect your concern and your desire to make it look, and believe me, we're doing the same thing. We've done a couple preliminary concepts that have masonry, facades, some elevated structures, so it doesn't just sit back. You know, the reality is with the Flower Run on the corner, we're a second off the corner retail center. We don't have the hard corner. So what we have to do is improve that facade and get it a little bit vertical so we can get some visibility to the corner. We've talked internally about matching our new street, our parking lot lighting to the village standards, and doing all the landscaping, the masonry, and new sidewalks to really make this thing new. And I think you're going to be very happy when we finish in the architecture.
And will there also be, and I don't know if you could do this in advance, but I know that at one of the buildings over there, one of the stores was a restaurant. And I'm sure that all of us would love to see some type of outdoor seating. Will you be doing anything if you have a tenant like that, or do you have to know if there's a tenant? Or will you build it to accommodate outdoor seating and then try to sell it to a restaurant? How does that work?
We are very much hopeful to get a restaurant. We've met with a couple, and everyone wants to see it. What's out there now, they can't quite visualize something that's new and exciting and why they want to spend their money and open a restaurant. So we have talked about outdoor seating. We've looked at a couple alternatives with a restaurant. One of them is to take the end wall and add a bunch more glass and put a seating area off to the side. We've talked about cutting down some of the trees for visibility. And if we have to, we could even come forward into the parking lot, taking 3 or 4 parking spaces out and creating an outdoor seating there. I mean, obviously outdoors where a lot of those restaurants make, even though we can't do it all year round, but it would be nice to have that summer availability for outdoor seating. So, the restaurant was there, the infrastructure for a restaurant is there. My first hope for that space would be a new restaurant.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Semple.
Yeah, just to confirm with the petitioner, this is a performance-based incentive agreement outside of the property taxes. So the best way for you to hit a home run and recoup a portion of your investment is by bringing in new sales tax revenue, correct?
Absolutely.
And when does the clock start ticking on the incentive agreement?
Well, I think when we finish our plan, so it's going to start right around the first of the year is where we would start trying to taking that as the starting point where we are, and then looking for new tax revenue from that point forward.
And you're aware of course, of the Hawley Street Improvement Project. Director Boucher, was this area going to be used for a staging area or anything during the construction?
No.
So the construction, other than the road work itself, shouldn't impede what they're trying to do at all, correct?
Right. Any private property staging areas would be between the contractor and the private property owners exclusively. So we wouldn't really be part of that negotiation. It would be something that the contractor would be working out with those owners. And obviously we don't have a contractor yet, so those type of negotiations have not begun with anyone.
Thank you. And final question, 2 questions. How quickly are you going to start working on this?
If I receive approval tonight, I will have my architect begin in the morning.
Do you have any potential tenants teed up at this point whatsoever that you can talk about? It's
No,
all.
we have a few that we've been talking to seriously, but again, they need to see that we're actually going to deliver something. They don't want to move in and make that investment in an old center. It needs to be new, and that's what we have to deliver. So we have to get our plans in as quickly as we can, get under construction so people can see in 3 dimensions what's going to become. And then I'm very hopeful that we're going to have some new tenants, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah, so this incentive agreement, we're not peeling off a check and giving a big check. He has to basically earn it back, and we split the sales tax with him for that maximum amount not to exceed. So it is in his best interest to generate some sales tax as quickly as possible. So.
I tried to get the check up front, but...
No, there's just a misconception in the community that when we do these type of incentive agreements, that we're forking out a check up front, and for this type, that's not the case.
No, and the reality is we're going to spend $1.5 million plus. And if let's say we find 3 new tenants, I probably even next year won't recover $40,000, which is maximum. So maybe we're projecting, that's why we had that kind of elevated first couple of years of the incentive. And as we, so that we go project out 3 or 4 years, hopefully we'll be stabilized enough and have enough sales tax revenues that we can start hitting that 40,000. But if we don't in a given year, there's no obligation for the village to come back and up the following years as an offset to that. If we don't earn it that year, we don't earn it. So.
Great. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to go first? I wanted to hear everyone's opinion.
Oh, all I wanted to say was, as a new trustee, I'll personally throw the party in your parking lot when this construction starts.
And I will be there.
And I'm sure I can get some constituents of the village to join me. Job well done.
Thank you.
I'll be there with you, Kirsten.
Trustee Kim?
Yes, so first of all, I want to preface it by saying there is nobody here that doesn't want you to get legs on this. Everybody has wanted, I think it may have been in every single person's campaign points, to get some work done on 45 and Hawley. What I do have an issue with is kind of the high price tag of this incentive program being $750,000. To put it in perspective, we offered $750,000 to the Boystein property under the condition, first of all, his being much, much larger, that he signs with Walmart and that he moves a creek. And as I understand it here, this is a facade improvement, so it's kind of like a nice facelift, which we all appreciate. But paying half of that at $750,000 just to do it, one of the things I had asked for, and I didn't see it in here, but correct me if I'm wrong, I had asked for some sort of a percentage qualifier, so that if you had it at 70% occupancy or some percentage we make up, that we would pay out, and that if it went below that, that we wouldn't pay until it went above that. Am I wrong in that it's not in here, right? This is not here. So the way that I feel about this, not that there's anything personal, is just that it's very heavily in favor of the property owner. And I would much rather prefer it to be a win-win for not only you, but also our residents as well. And it being, incentive-based, it's motivated by your sales. I didn't see it to be that much of an issue to add the qualifier of the occupancy percentage, because if you were going to do it anyway, but at the same time, it's a floor for our residents to know that, they wouldn't be losing out on the property or the sales taxes that could have been generated if it didn't benefit them. So there's that. The qualifier. So I just wanted to put it out there, because it's not that I don't want to give you an incentive, and I would like to. It's just at $750,000, I feel it's a bit high if you put it into scale with the other incentives that we've provided to other properties.
So we're giving them 50% of their cost, correct? Okay, so this is just a larger scale. You're putting in $1.5 million investment, so we're going to give you half of that back. On what you're saying, though, it is on a basis of having to perform, because if you don't have anyone in those vacancies, they're not getting their money back. So they do have an incentive to have to fill those buildings. After the first year it's based on the sales tax that you're collecting now. It only will increase if they increase the number of businesses and they increase the sales tax that property generates. Correct. So we are doing it based on the incentive agreements that we have in place. 50% of what someone's willing to spend, we'll give it back. This is just a larger scale, but it's a much larger property. So thank you. Because for 14 years, I believe that has sat that way. It has been an eyesore. So if you're going to generate the funds to pay yourself back, which in essence is what you're doing, I'm okay with it.
I'm sorry, but let me get, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it could be argued that if they had tenants, they could be paying themselves as well in the mortgage. It could be said either way. What I would like to convey, though, is I do believe that for many of us, as I said, it was a campaign point. At this point, you're here. So, I mean, the fact that you're here means that you're willing to work with us. But I feel that there's so much weight of this having been a project that people wanted for so long that weighs heavily upon the inflation of this like incentive that we are giving you. Because it really has more to do with the fact that you're finally here and things are still finally moving, that we're willing to do anything at any cost. And I'm just having a hard time swallowing the any cost part.
No, I think the first time when you came in, you wanted a lot more money back. They wanted no, you see, this has come down quite a bit, because I remember the first time hearing about this, it was a lot more than $750,000 they wanted back. And I remember turning to, I think you, saying, that's not gonna happen, that's way too much. We have an incentive agreement giving property owners 50% back of what they're investing. We can't do more than that, because they wanted a lot more than $750,000 when we started. So I think they have worked with us in what they wanted. So I'm just going back to the incentive agreement that we have just approved of a 50% payback to a property owner. He's just putting in a lot more than $50,000. So, and he has worked with us because I know they wanted a lot more back. And they've come down to 50%. So thank you.
I have a question, and please excuse me, but I'm going to pull the as a new trustee card, okay?
Okay.
As a new trustee card, how is this amount determined? Is that determined just by negotiations? In other words, they come back and say, here's the number for us to do it?
Yeah,
Take it or leave it?
There's certified costs. There's certain things that they can.
So they come in with numbers of what it's going to cost and
Receipts, all
receipts
that,
and all of
right,
that.
correct.
But it is a negotiated number. Okay, that's all I wanted to
Yes.
confirm. I wasn't sure of
And
that.
it's for physical improvements, excluded our permit costs and architecture and things like that. It's what we determine as soft costs. We're not reimbursed for those. It's actual physical sticks and bricks improvements to the center.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just to make a clarification, this $1.5 million plus could be, also does not include any build out for tenants. That's your cost of doing business. So we're talking strictly about the exterior of the building over 20 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Kim?
No.
Norton?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Grogan, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I sincerely want to thank staff for Victor and everyone involved. We've been working this a long time, and I'm glad we're here, and I look forward to improving that corner.
And we're serious, we will have that little party for you. Yeah, we're serious about that one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, call him tomorrow, make sure you call that architect. Okay, next. Orchard Meadows. All right, the Orchard Meadows subdivision improvement agreement. I have a motion to authorize the mayor's execution of the subdivision improvements agreement between the Village of Mundelein and K. Hovnian at Orchard Meadows LLC for the Orchard Meadows subdivision.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Kim. Discussion.
I'm just going to note here in this discussion, since we're talking about Orchard Meadows, that we do need to get someone,
Yes.
a new trustee on this negotiating team, seeing as though this might be expanding the purview of this project, as per Victor's.
Would this require a negotiating team to be involved at this level?
Not at this point, not at this point for the acquisition of this one parcel, but if the project expands any further, then it would be a good idea to appoint another trustee.
Well, we'll be in communication on that. If it does.
Well, because
we'll-
it'd be nice now, because I remember trustee Voss and I had asked about going into.
One parcel at a time.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, do the new trustees get a briefing on this before we vote?
I would like one if possible.
Okay. You want to do you want to summarize the briefing, Mr. Barrera, on this?
I'm providing a briefing on the subdivision improvement agreements.
Yeah, just a summary of what are we doing here?
The agreement is basically the developer consenting to install the public improvements as reviewed and approved by our engineering departments. It provides assurances for if they default on those improvements, for the village to have legal right to pursue the completion of those improvements and to go after the security that they have placed with us for the installation of those, for us to collect and make the improvements on our own.
And Victor, we're talking about the former Quig's Apple Orchard, residential subdivision, how many homes?
We are talking about the former Quig's Apple Orchards is a subdivision of approximately 20 acres with 69 homes, single family proposed.
And it excludes the commercial property at this point of the actual restaurant and the Apple Orchard commercial structures, correct?
That is correct.
That's all I had. Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on what we're doing here.
Anyone else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and just a couple more things, Mr. Mayor. We have a couple of new businesses. We have Haven Spa, doing business as Gem Spa on 1448 South Butterfield Road. It is a therapist massage service which consists of deep tissue massage, Swedish massage, using massage oil. It also will be doing some hot stone massages, if anyone so cares. Sorry. Yeah, they're not open Monday night late. So anyways, and we also have Chief, we're good there, right? Okay. GNR Fiesta at 514 East Hawley Street. It's a retail store that's going to sell flowers, balloons, stuffed bears, decorations, party supplies, party goods, and gift cards. So that's what we have, and we'll go on later. Okay, thank you very much.
Very good, thank you. Next up, Communication and Marketing Committee, Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No motions tonight, but a couple of updates. The summer issue of the Insider newsletter, the hard copy paper that goes to your home, will be going out on June 25th. They're working on that right now. Last week was the residential realtors reception. It was well received with 30 realtors and over 50 people. I think the next step is to take it on the road, right? Was that correct?
We are talking about taking the show on the road.
That's
yes.
right. Hit up all the real estate agent offices of those who did not attend.
Yep.
I wanted to note that we are live via web, if you'd like to say hello to the live TV audience out there. The last session was the test run, and now it is official. Also to note was that last Saturday was the ribbon tying campaign for, I'm sorry, Chief Gunther, what is the week called? The National Police Recognition Week?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you may have noticed the blue ribbons around town, and that's what it's for. And the blue ribbons were tied by local Boy Scout troops and the Police Statue Fund Committee, and the Alumni Association of with Kay Dickman, the police.
Police Academy.
Thank you. Yes, the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. So those will be up all week, and then they'll be taken down next week. Also to note that Movoto made us one of the top 10 Chicago suburbs for families last week. We were number 10. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Trustee Norton, Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one item on the agenda tonight. I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing a change in scope to the 2013 CDBG grant number C1311 for public infrastructure from an improvement to rehabilitate lined sanitary sewer main and manholes to the installation of new sanitary sewer to serve vacant underperforming commercial property along Butterfield Road in the village of Mundelein, Illinois.
Motion by Norton.
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion. Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Norton?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Motion carries. Anything else? Is that it?
Anything
Director Boucher?
Well, the road program work has begun. We started with the utility work on Walnut Street. It's been kind of slow because of the nature of the work. It's very deep, and we have to ensure that we don't lose the side slopes. There's some pretty poor soils out there, so we're being very careful as we go. And there's a lot of young children in that area. It's a multifamily area, so there's a lot of kids running around in the area of construction. We're trying to kind of keep them off, and we appreciate the help that the police have been giving us thus far in trying to route the buses through that area as well. So the work has begun.
Yes, Trustee Semple.
Director Boucher, can you give a brief summary on the storm from Friday? I believe you're prepared, and we're not going to have a board meeting for a month, basically,
Pretty much a month, right?
and it'll be water under the bridge by then. Can you kind of tell us what we went through?
We received here 1.71 inches in about an hour, which sounds like a lot. It equates to about between a 10 to 25-year storm, which for the layperson doesn't mean a whole lot, but in our world, that's a fairly substantial storm. In very common terms, it's once every 10 years this has a probability of occurring. So it's like a 10% occurrence chance storm that we saw over the weekend. It was very fast. Fortunately, it came down. We didn't suffer too many areas other than what we already know and expect, so we were on top of those very quickly. The water did subside very quickly. It was just a matter of the system not being able to handle that much rain in that quick of a period of time. So after about half an hour to 45 minutes after the storm subsided, the system caught up and was able to manage and weather through that amount of rainfall. So we didn't suffer too many property damages. We didn't hear of any other than the ones we know about, specifically 101 Wellington.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to other reports. Does any trustee have any other report, anything to bring up at this time? Okay, we'll move on to scheduled business, the omnibus vote items. There are, get through here, 13 items. Does any trustee wish to pull any item of these 13? Trustee Kim?
I had a comment, but I didn't know if we need to pull it or not. It was regarding bidding for landscaping. Does that mean I should pull the item? Okay, well, 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8. We'll pull those. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll need a motion to pass items 1 through 5 and 9 through 13. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to item 6. Trustee Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was regarding basically just generally landscaping, but I noticed this one is for $104,000, and then the other two are, different amounts and different companies as well. My question was on when the last time we did a sealed bidding for landscape services to the village.
This is the third of 3 years on that contract, so 3 years ago.
Okay, so for the next year, we'll be sending it out to bid.
Next year we'll be going back out to bid, or actually probably close to October of this year.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll make the motions then. Number 6 being the motion to approve department purchase order in the amount of $104,820.
Motion by Kim.
Second.
Second by Rikus. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and number 7, the motion to approve department purchase order in the amount of $23,265.
Second.
Motion by Kim, second by Norton. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And number 8 being motion to approve department purchase order in the amount of $89,375.
Motion by Kim.
Second.
Second by Abernathy. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, that takes us to village staff reports. Mr. Lebedo is not with us tonight. Well, Mr. Flynn, do you want to take those, or should I?
It's your pleasure.
All right. I'll go after it then. Let's just talk about for number one, 2015 Craft Beer Festival. This regards the board's approval to move the beer festival from over on the Anatol parking lot over here to the plaza where it's village-owned property. So I need a motion to permit the Village Hall Plaza to be used for the 2015 Mundelein Community Connection Craft Beer Festival in accordance with plans approved by the village staff.
I have a question over.
So moved.
Okay.
Well, I'm just entertaining a motion.
Second.
and then go to discussion. So motion by Norton, second by Kim. Discussion. Mr. Rikus?
Yes. I know when it was first proposed to possibly move community days here, and this is kind of addressed to Mr. Flynn, there were considerations of costs for electrical and public works. Are there going to be any costs involved in moving this over?
Well, first of all, this is quite a bit different than Mundelein Community Days, which does require a huge amount of electricity for the vendors and the music. This is a very small use of power. The power is on the circle where they're using power from the light poles.
Okay.
So there are only 2 circuits are needed, a third as a backup, and it's easily available. So there is the costs are relatively equal to, if not less than, what it was in the other location.
Okay, and what about the costs to our public works?
That's what I mean by cost, really the cost to
Clean up,
us.
anything like that?
We are involved in some setup. We've been involved in setup in the past. This year, what this event does is reduce some of the time the Public Works needs. And in the previous location, they spent time and equipment filling the water barrels that we had to use because it was on a hard surface. Now, no water barrels, none of that time is required to fill the water barrels.
For the tents?
For the tents. The tent company will put them up, stake it in the ground. Our time is transferred to some time putting up the fence, because more fencing is needed. But the Mundelein Community Connection provides in the neighborhood of 45 or 50 volunteers to staff the event on the day of.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just wanted to, because this is new, because we had, the farmer's market was on the plaza last year, and we didn't have a discussion about moving it to the plaza last year.
The farmer's market wasn't really on the plaza.
Well, it was in the
we
roadway.
used the roadway.
Yeah, but I mean, it was used the roadway, it still was public property. It still had to close down a road. So we still closed that road off.
Yeah.
That came in from, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not against the beer festival being there. I'm just questioning, we didn't have a discussion last year about moving. We just okayed it without what's the word I'm looking, formal board approval.
That's correct.
We did-
This was judged to be significantly more of an event on the plaza, in front of the village hall, closing the entire road, and we have no policy for programming the plaza.
Right.
So we just thought it would be prudent, perhaps we should have last year as well, brought that to the board. But
Right.
in this case, because of its magnitude, it was felt that this was the proper
Well, I
way to
guess
go.
my question is that maybe are we gonna have to come up with some sort of programming protocol? Because one of the things that I know I've talked to the mayor and I know I've talked to Mr. Lebedo about is having like a food truck Wednesday. I know I've mentioned it to other people, and having that here in the plaza. And I met with the Village of Lincolnshire who does that, and on a bi-weekly basis. And it's been very successful for them. This is their 3rd year doing it. So I just guess we have to talk about, do we need to have a formal policy for the for the village using the plaza, or what are we, how are we?
Yeah, I think I think talking to staff, there definitely is a desire to move forward with these events on the plaza. That
Right.
They would really like to see board discussion and approval of each event that occurs on the grass and, and all that stuff. If we're gonna close roads or whatever, that we just need to discuss it and then approve it. And to Mr. Flynn's point, we probably should have gone through the process last year before the farmer's market. Because it was significant, closing roads, and it occurred at a time we had just moved in, et cetera. And we hadn't really thought that through. But now the dust has settled, and either we come up with a policy of programming, or at this point, we're really on an event-by-event basis where we just hear about the event and discuss it and approve it, if that's the pleasure of the board.
I think part of the issue is most of the events that we participate in are sponsored by other groups, Mundelein Community Connection being one of the most frequent that we join with, and the other being our cooperative event with the HRC and the Park District for One World Festival. So the use of the plaza is something that is a very symbolic location, and so the use of the plaza, particularly for this event, we thought was the proper thing to do. But going forward, it seems like having a policy for using the plaza is probably is something the board could discuss. But also, the important thing, like John went over at the meeting last week, the special meeting, was that the board should make decisions like this probably as a group to join in large events like this. And he called it the power of four. And that's, I think, probably a very reasonable approach on these kinds of events. And so going forward, it probably would be good to continue that discussion with John and the mayor.
Yes, Trustee Semple.
Yeah, let's not forget that this is our first full summer with the actual plaza. Last year was all brand-new sod, and we didn't really have an option. And there are long-term plans for the development of the plaza to have an area with a stage, perhaps pavers, as this whole area matures. So the timing is right to set up a protocol, to go forward on how do we best utilize the plaza as a community. And I think it is best that this village board be the deciding factor in our plaza.
Okay. Anyone else? Do you have anything else? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Norton,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Abernethy,
Yes.
Semple,
Yes.
Rikus.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to Tighthead expansion proposal. Tighthead Brewery is expanding, and detailed in the packet is the agreement to provide for money that we would pay as owners of the building, and then they're gonna, chip in far more than we are to then expand out his space and get into, I think, canning, even with his microbrew. So I need a motion to authorize the village administrator to work with attorney Larry Lalazerne to prepare an amendment to the original agreement between Hawley Partners and the Village of Mundelein that provides for Tighthead expansion and extending the lease term to May 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Norton, second by Kim. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Trustee Kim.
Thank you. So the cost being $200,000 that we are paying up front, this is not something that will be paid back through sales or anything like that. It's just like a grant, we're just paying it, or?
Well, okay, so as the landlord for certain tenant improvements, those that are attached, typically the landlord does front the money to pay for those improvements. So yes, this is tenant improvements that we will be paid back in terms of the rent that comes back.
Through Hawley Partners, then to us.
For the first until 2018.
Okay.
Right.
When we pay this upfront, what account does it come out of? What reserves?
Well, we opened that account last.
Yeah, we created the Archer Commons Fund the last board meetings. That's where the money will
Expect
come
the
out
larger
of.
comments. Okay. All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
This is in regard to the portion of the build-out being identified as event space. Now, I thought that, pardon me? Yeah, a portion of the build-out was marked as event space.
But
was.
it's inside.
Inside, yes.
It's inside.
Yes.
Right, right.
But when this first came about, it was identified as a brewery with a tasting room. And what seems to have developed over the years is that it's now become more of a, for lack of a better word, a tavern, a bar, whatever. Is the event space then going to increase the space for the, I'm going to call it the bar, where he has more people coming in? And if so, what kind of problems does that cause for us? Or does that license have to be changed in any way?
No, I don't think any of that changes. It's, the expansion, my understanding is he's expanding to accommodate his production.
Yes, I understand that, but there was an item in there about also a part of that being used as an event space.
That's correct. He has had a lot of requests for private parties and receptions. The what is identified as an event space is a area to hold those kinds of events. In addition, the primary purpose of the expansion is for production space. The event portion, the banquet room, if you will, is part of the project as well.
So none of that space will be used on regular business on weekends to, when he has 100 people coming, he's going to open that up?
No, it could be used for that also. He also, he has music in the
Right.
bar.
Bands.
This gives him a way to expand his entertainment space as well.
Okay, and the way his license is established is proper then?
Yes, it is. There's no need to change the liquor license.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Abernathy?
Just on a note, I've been there for events, like for the water for the water fundraiser that Mr. Stubich does. I don't know how a band even fits in there, and B, he needs the room, because if you have someone there, that place is, you can't even move. You have to. So I think it's great that he has to expand. So I'm very happy to see this expansion.
Anyone else?
If I could just throw a comment. Thank
Yes.
you, Mr. Mayor. Last time I had been there, there were some people at the same table who were just, complete strangers, but they were from Libertyville, and they had come to hang out at Tighthead. And they said that this is one, they drove all the way over here because they read about it online, and they love it, and they love the fact that it's so close, and they're expecting great things to come out of Mundelein. And so I'm very glad that with the space constraints that Brewster had, that he chose to expand and stay in town and expand his operation here instead of going somewhere else. So just want to throw that in, that we have a great thing going.
Yes, absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Norton?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Wonderful, motion carries. Next up, Village Attorney, Mr. Marino. Do you have a report?
I have no report, but I understand there will be a need for an executive session.
Yes, correct. Village Clerk?
No report.
Okay,
No report.
all right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. We're gonna go to executive session, so I'm gonna read a motion. I'm gonna ask for a motion to recess into executive session to discuss pending litigation pursuant to 5 ILCS 120, Section 2C11, and personnel pursuant to 5 ILCS 120, Section 2C1.
So moved.
Motion by Abernathy.
Second.
Second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy? Yes. Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll take 5 minutes. Again, thank you, everyone. There will be action taken afterwards. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to reconvene the village board meeting.
Second.
Motion by Abernathy, second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Motion carries. Clerk, please take attendance.
Abernathy?
Present.
Kim?
Here.
Norton?
Here.
Semple?
Here.
Rikus?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Okay, that takes us to the action from the executive session. Item E, that would be, we need a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign certain engagement letters relating to the Village of Mundelein versus Village of Grays Lake et al., case number 14CH2148.
So moved.
Motion by Abernathy,
Second.
second by Kim. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Abernathy?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Norton?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Rikus?
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to other business, and Mr. Flynn does have a small item to announce regarding the Holly Street.
Yes, I'm sorry for the suddenness, but when I got in late today, and John is in Geneseo, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. But if you recall, we made an offer for a piece of property that we needed for the Holly Street project. There was a small piece of 145 square feet of Holly Commons that we needed to purchase, and we offered to pay $2,248.43, and that was approved by the board for that. Then, after we made that payment, evidently there was a note from Jim, the owner of Holly Street Commons, that they had paid some fees to Inland Bank in the amount of $1,300, $1,341. So the total, and that, I don't know why that wasn't included in the original pricing, but they have asked that be added to the amount that we were going to pay them, so an additional $1,341. Now, I know you can't make a motion to pay that tonight, but I think the intent was to advise the board that unless there's that this was going to be added, or...
Why are we paying Inland? Why are we paying them for this?
I only know what I can read here, which is that Jim asked about the fee that they paid to Inland for some fees. And John asked them to waive the fees, but they wouldn't waive the fees, so now they're asking us to pay the $1,341. So I just had a note to advise the board of that, and if you would like, I don't know.
Talk to John about it.
I can talk to
tell you-
John, and there'd be no payment, I guess. I don't know how this
Well-
affects the
No, it's a problem.
the
because
transaction with the Holly Street.
We need to secure that last
I
little bit of
I
land.
think we've acquired, I think we've got the land, so maybe what we could do is, just defer this to the next board meeting if possible.
Well, not if it delays the bid letting with the county on that construction. Right?
I was kind of under the impression you had been advised of this as well, so
I have not
I
been.
can't explain it very well,
I do
sorry.
know that the bank, that piece of land was not included in the eminent domain proceedings because we thought this was a done deal. And so they were not included in that initial list, as I recall.
Yeah.
But then the bank flared up and, reared its head here, and we've had an issue all these months leading up to this. And so I think the advice is to just pay the $1,300.
It sounds like a prepayment almost on a mortgage. If you go to your lender and you say, I want to take a little piece of your security away from you, the lender might say, well, okay, I'll release it from the mortgage, but you have to prepay.
But isn't inland a commercial real estate?
Well, they could be the lien holder.
They're a
They-
REIT.
Yeah,
They're a REIT.
yeah.
Real estate investment
Yeah.
trust. Yeah, trust.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going on here, other than I would treat this as de minimis, $1,300 in view of all
It's-
that's gone.
It's within John's
in-
authority
into
to
this.
pay.
So I think it certainly is within his authority. It doesn't need board approval. I think what Mike is doing is just giving the board a heads up.
We
that-
just need Holly done.
Okay, very good. So the
Okay.
board is advised.
The board is advised. Any other business? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Abernathy. Second. Second by Norton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, thank you. We are adjourned.